Booknerds, welcome back to another awesome session where we bring to you authors all across India and from the rest of the world. I'm Vidushi Nautiyal, a member of the Booknerds editorial team, and today I am going to be in conversation with a very special author of the book 23rd June 2169, a book that has made me time and time again wish I could just travel into the future. We are here today with Gajender Sharma. Hello, sir. Welcome to the session. It's lovely to have you here with us. How has your day been going?
Hi, Avich. No, thank you very much. My day has been going fine. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, sir, I have to ask, this book has made my heart race time and time again. I just kept anticipating what was going to happen at the end. How did you come up with such an exciting idea for a book?
Yeah, actually, the idea was there when I started writing the book. The idea was that when the human and machine interface will start to happen, how will people recognize if somebody is human or robot? Maybe in the future, you will be talking to someone, realizing later on it was a half human, half robot. And in this context, I was thinking, okay, what if this happens in reality, and if somebody comes from outer space and and gets into a relationship with someone, but then in the end, the person knows that it was all not true. So that's how it started. And and to basically give everybody the idea that somehow we all think that everything is happening just like that randomly, but always the idea was, what if it is not? What if everything is not happening the way we think? Yeah. So, and that was the fundamental idea. And then the idea to end the book in a certain way was, the reason was that I wanted to always write the sequel. That's why the idea was to bring it to that level and to surprise the people. Yeah.
So we are getting something after this. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. Haven't started yet, but yeah, one day I will definitely write about that. Yeah.
We'll be looking forward to that, sir. So something I found really exciting in the book was all the coexistence of the humans, the humans and the robots. How did you come up with that? What was your inspiration of them living together and behaving together? Because there's also this character in the book who has been adopted by two humans as her parents. So how did you come up with all of that?
I mean, the thing is, if you look around the globe, I mean, it is happening already 2-3 years ago that robots are coming up. We have certain robots who already speak like human beings. They'll have very good conversation. There are artificial intelligence creating music already. So the idea was, if this thing is extrapolated to the next 100, 150 years later, everything is possible. So, for example, people who cannot make friends easily can have a robot friends, because they don't have to go to humans then. They can have somebody who can converse with them. Or if you like a certain thing very much, then you could have a robot who could support you there. And the idea was that if that starts happening, and if we have limited resources on Earth, and especially if the CO2 comes into the picture, then maybe there's a possibility that you will have technologies which will support everyone. And for sure, if you want to accelerate the growth, if you want to go to Mars and Moon, which is what is happening already, that people are trying to go to Mars in 2023, 2024, then what will happen after 100 years is completely unimaginable. With that, maybe there is every possibilities. And for sure, when you will have more population of robots in the world, then for sure you need to have certain guidelines. And humans, how will you deal with them? And that's the reason why the context was a society where technology, human interface, humans all will come together and live together.
So there's this concept of cameras being everywhere in the book. There are cameras that go around you at 3 meters length, and they capture everything, and they have the surveillance of everything everywhere in Earth, Mars, and Moon. Where did you get that concept from? Was it something inspired by 1984 George Orwell, or something else?
No, actually, the story is the story writing, I also realized is an ongoing process. I was walking one day and I was stuck at my story and was thinking how it should progress. And And the idea came that it has to be that everything has to be recorded. There's a reason behind why it is like that, because the idea is that in 2169 or even in 2160, people will have much more safety than what they have today. And this is only possible if a certain system knows where you are located. So it has to monitor you every time, and it has to know, okay, you are currently in, I don't know, in Mumbai at a VT station, and if there is something happening, then some actions should happen towards that. So the idea was that every thing has to be recorded, and the reason why everything has to be recorded was also, if you wanted to go back in time, you could actually search about anything anywhere. And I mean, as a classical example I will give you, in many countries, we have high-speed cameras currently in France or even in Japan, who capture the speed of your car. The purpose of that is safety of the cars and people. Yeah, it's the same thing. When you will be in a year when safety of human beings and everybody will become so important, then, because I also wrote in the book that the reaction time to support you is 9 seconds. I give you an example. In Japan, if you're in trouble, if you call the ambulance, normally it comes in 5 minutes. That's the time. In 5 minutes, the ambulance comes to your place. If you take this simple example, which is already happening in the world today, and go 100 years later, the time is shortened, much more. So if you want to react, if like some kid has been supposed to be hit by something, and if you could detect with the central system and somebody can take an action, then you need to record everything. That is the fundamental idea behind why everything has to be recorded. It was linked to the safety of the people and all the reaction time, which some system has to take.
But don't you think, sir, that it's such an invasion of privacy being recorded all the time? And there must be a lot of misuse of that information also, that collection of information of what people are doing at any point of time.
Absolutely. I think this was also some people gave me the feedback, and also certain reviewers gave me the feedback. The idea is, of course, it's like iPhone, where you can decide whether you want to share your location, yes or no. So the idea is whether you want to be recorded or not, it's up to you. That's first thing. Second thing is, yes, of course, once you're at home, you don't need to be recorded. It's only because you're inside your home, and there could be other mechanism. So yeah, it's for sure invading the privacy. But at the same time, in the book, I write about social behavior index, meaning if people will misuse it, then people can vote. And everybody has the social behavior index recorded. So if somebody is not doing the right thing, then his social behavior index goes low. If somebody is behaving properly, his social behavior index goes high. And then the idea is that everybody knows, and that's how the relationship is formed. And yeah, so there is corrective mechanisms to countervent that. But as you said, people who think it's invading their privacy, then they will not share they will not be recorded by the camera. Is an option also.
Great. There are such high key ideas and technologies that are used in your book. Like there's this technology called the thought reminder, where you can send messages from your brain, which is, oh my God, I wish it existed right now, because I really want to use it. So how did you come up with those? How did you research overall for your book?
Actually, I did not research much about my book. It was all the things which were already, the technology which was happening was already telling me what is possible in the future. Because I don't know if you know, there is already technology existing where people can, just by a thought of, just by thinking in their mind certain words, the device can search on the internet and give the answer to them. So, for example, you could even say, okay, if I have to multiply 999 times 554, then this device will search it and will tell it to the person, and that person can answer it. So this is already happening in 2021. It's nothing new. So the idea is, if that is possible, then of course it's possible that people are able to communicate with their thoughts only. And if the brain could be then connected like an internet, which I call BrainNet in my book, then everything is possible. And that's the idea behind. And yeah, so for sure, thought reminder. and it happens, even maybe you don't realize sometimes if you're thinking about something and if you're in a room, somebody in the room picks up your thought and repeats the same thing, and it's already happening. Telepathy, we call it telepathy, or we call it mind reading. This already is existing. The topic is how do you connect it more actively, and that's what's the idea behind.
Oh my God, now I am seeing the world in a completely different way. I'm sorry for that. So tell me a little more about the Earth Resort, and how did you come up with that concept? And what would a day in the Earth Resort be like?
Yeah, the topic was, if people are already talking about space exploration, and if reality happens, if people are traveling, if in 2025 really the Mars journey happens, imagine, will people come from Mars to Earth? Maybe not. They will say, oh, I should go to somewhere else. So why should I take a long route to go to Earth? I'd rather go somewhere else. And they will miss Earth. So when they will miss Earth, for sure, somebody will say, oh, why don't I create another Earth in the universe where people can travel? And the idea behind is, if in reality the intergalactic life happens outside the Earth in the future, for sure there will be a lot of different customer needs coming up. That's the idea behind. And the idea was, why should people travel from Mars to Earth and not go to Earth Resort? And that was the idea. And then create something in between Earth and Mars, and let the people travel there. And also from Moon, for example, yeah, they could travel there. That was the fundamental idea. How to realize that is something very extreme ideas in the book, but maybe there are different ways to do it. But with my limited capacity of my knowledge, I had to use things I knew, and I just said the Earth Resort will be created. I mean, Earth Resort, of course, is a very idealistic place where there is no pollution, which is like where people already say heaven. This could be a real heaven. You go there and everything is fine. There's no pollution. People are living in harmony, and it's really, really a beautiful place to visit. That was the idea behind, yeah.
Oh, that's even true for the future you've set out for us in 2169, where education is on demand. And it's just such a beautifully peaceful world. Tell me, you have written, this is your second book, right? So, how is sci fi writing different from writing in any other genre?
Sci-fi really requires, I would say, thinking about the future. And the first book which I wrote was real life stories, so it was I would say, yeah, it was not science fiction. So it was a general genre. You can talk family, you can talk about relationships. The first book was very much on human emotions and human connections and human interactions and human mindset. The second book is about what is possible in the future. So you really have to go in the future, really have to extrapolate things which might happen. You have to create the characters. You have to create things which people cannot think about. And yeah, so that's how it is different. Yeah, I would say. And I love, actually, I was, when I was 18, I was already thinking about black holes, so black holes, why they exist. And as I grew, I was reading a lot about technology. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I have grown interest in technology. And I said, yeah, if I want to tell somebody that this is how the future would look like, nobody wants to listen to my 222 pages of lecture on how the future will look like. And I said, okay, why not create this book, which is a science fiction book, but it also tells how future could look like. And that's the idea behind it a little bit.
Oh my, I love that entire concept. You must have loved Stephen Hawking while growing up and reading about him. Are there any other book recommendations that you'd like to give us?
Actually, Stephen Hawking is something which I really admire. I have read his book, A Brief History of Time. And yes, in general, I mean, there was the Martian. It also is a movie, and also I think is a book. It's also very interesting. I don't know if Interstellar is a book, but Interstellar was also quite a very nice movie, which I really liked. And but yeah, I have read only few books, I would say, but those are the ones which are really interesting. And yes, Stephen Hawking is something which I recommend everyone. If they haven't read, they should read. And and then start their own thought process if they want to be a writer.
Wonderful. I have to ask, the addition of Zoe in the book was absolutely invigorating for me as a romance fiction fan. So, do you think some romantic relationships in sci-fi books are something that is something of a necessity in the book to keep the book interesting for other readers also who are coming into the genre?
Actually, the thing is, the romance part in even in science fiction, actually, for me it is more like a general or natural life, because even if in the future we will have a lot of technologies and we will have coexistence of robots and humans and holomins, the emotion part will not go there. And to have a book in which you only focus on the mission and you leave the human emotion part completely out, which I recently was reading, that actually there are 6 or 9 broader emotions, but when you look deeper, there are 102 subcategories of emotions. So if human emotions can go as much as 102 level, then why do we limit to a certain level? So that's the idea behind. Since my initial idea was that some character will come from space and will want to a relationship, not the right one, it had to be there, because that was only the part of the plot from beginning.
Talking about emotions, I absolutely loved the character of the protagonist, Ztocmi. He was so adorable and so amazing, and he was loved by everyone he worked with and everyone who knew him. How did you come up with his character? How did he originate in your story? Was he the first character you built?
Yeah, I think the protagonist is the first character, which actually, even before I was writing, actually I was thinking Ztocmi is the one who comes from the space and Zoe is on the earth. But during the writing process, it reversed. Zoe became, so there was no intention to have Ztocmi or Zoe, one or other, in that. But the idea of the character was that if you are on such a special project, if you have to create something where the whole earth is looking up to you, you have to be some special person, and that was the idea behind. And this person has to be super intelligent, super nice, and humble, everything you can think about, because he has to create something which nobody has created. And this will only happen if people will follow him, will support him, and people respect him. So those were the ideas, fundamental ideas, how this character was shaped or built. Actually, I don't have the picture. Maybe I might have the picture somewhere. Actually, I also drew both of the characters, Zoe and Ztocmi, how they look like, how they should look like. It should be somewhere.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
I wish I could see it now. I hope you do. I hope you put it up on your social media.
Yeah, I have to find it out, and then I will share once I find it out.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm so inspired by how you have played out this whole world and how you've written your books. How did you start writing? How did you get into it?
This was basically, when I had my first book in my mind that, okay, I want to write it. And I was always thinking, oh, I will write it one day. And but then something told me in 2017 that I should write it. I should not wait. So that's how I entered into writing. Yeah. There was no fixed plan that I have to start writing now. It just happened, and then started writing it. And why I started writing is basically I always had stories, small stories, which I had name for them. And I was always discussing with all my friends and colleagues and said, okay, that I should rather write it, yeah, not just keep it with me. And that was how it began.
Well, we're very grateful that you didn't keep it to yourself and that you shared it with the world. What is your writing process now with this book, especially? Do you write in a very scheduled way?
Actually, I write in a very concentrated way. I normally, if I have a gap, it's a problem for me, but normally I do plan that how many pages I have to write in certain timelines so that I don't miss out on the story. So yeah, I think for the second book, I spent maybe 4 months or 5 months on the writing. And actually, I learned from my first book. My first book was written very quickly. Maybe and only a month, maybe maximum. And then I realized that I didn't have enough time to think about it. And second book, as I was writing, I was always thinking, what can I do differently? What can I write? And how will my readers visualize the characters, and what else could be different? And so, yeah, I took some time. And so the camera story also came while I was walking on a road, and suddenly came up with this idea that cameras should be put in the book. So yeah, giving time, giving a little bit of break, pause is something which is definitely necessary, that your book evolves in the right manner.
What about the pandemic? How was the pandemic for you, the quarantine? Did you get any writing done?
Actually, no, but I already had, because of course it depends on in pandemic. In Japan, maybe we are not so much like in many other countries that lockdown. It's not a different, it's a different level of lockdown, I would say here. So yeah, I kept a balance in the work and private life, but I wanted to write a book, but the problem now is that I'm drifting away from my second book, and the third book should come as a sequel. But because of pandemic, I wanted to write a book on perspectives, meaning how people have inspired or changed in the pandemic. That was the idea for writing. This idea, the thought process is there. I have written a couple of pages, I would say. I have to write more. But I think this book is for sure on the pipeline. There are a couple more ideas I have. Another book is called Messenger. It's about when some people come in your life only for a very short duration, and they come to support you, and you don't realize that. And I call them messengers basically, because they come just to pass a message and they go. And that's one. And then of course the sequel of 33rd June 2169 something is there. So yeah, there are a couple of ideas, thought process, and then I have to start writing and completing them. Yeah.
Well, we do hope to see some of your future work very soon. So, your first book also deals with a lot of human interaction and human connectivity. How did you instill that in this book as well?
Yeah, actually, the first book was really about what happened with me, and how I see the world. I call it human SIM. In mobile phone we have SIM card, and I said, okay, so what is the human SIM card? And I said, okay, human SIM card is CIM, SIM. This is not SIM, but SIM, and the SIM stands for connection, interaction, and mindset. So the idea is that we as human beings have this SIM which keeps us going. So if we don't connect, if we don't interact, and if we don't have the right mindset, then it's very difficult to move forward. And that was the idea behind. And for sure, if you look at Ztocmi, or if you look at Zoe, if you look at all the characters, they all have this same philosophy inside them. They have to connect, they have to interact, and they have to have right mindset, even if it is 2169. So yeah, for sure, it is of course in the book all the time.
Is there any advice you'd like to give our budding writers out there?
Yeah, I think the only advice I can give is that they should not limit their thought process, and they should not be afraid of writing their thoughts. It might be something which is not existing, or if they feel that, how will the people or audience react, then I think they should keep that aside and write what they think, and start it and get it published. Then of course they know how the reaction is, and if they have to correct, then they can correct after the first book, rather than not writing at all, I would say.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. It was wonderful talking to you. I got a lot of insight on sci-fi writing and writing in general. It was lovely having you with us today.
Thank you very much, Vidushi, and all the best. And I hope we have a chance to talk in the future again.
Oh, definitely. With your future works, why not? All right, nerds, you know what to do out there. Go ahead and check out this amazing, amazing book. It is so worth it. And for more book-related content, you can follow Booknerds on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Till then, thank you so much for watching, and see you all next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.